Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. 1923's Alex Dutton recreated 1883's Yellowstone legacy, not Spencer. Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sklenar, recreates his family's 1883 journey in 1923 Season 2, but Alexandra's Julia Schladfer experience has been even closer. Taylor Sheridan's 1923 story is the second prequel about Yellowstone's Dutton family. The earliest set Dutton family story witnesses Spencer's parents, James, Tim McGraw, and Margaret Dutton, Faith Hill, make a northwest journey along the Oregon Trail. Spencer wasn't yet born in the show's title year, so Margaret's youngest child wasn't a part of the family's expedition from Texas to Montana. Spencer was born after the family made it to Paradise Valley. While he missed out on his older siblings' greatest thrills, Spencer's life and experience growing up in the Old West were no less harrowing. Spencer lost both his parents to the frontier before his 10th birthday. Spencer's father died in a shootout with horse thieves, and his mother, Margaret, froze to death in a snowdrift. While he wasn't in the covered wagon alongside Elsa, Isabel May, and John, Audie Rick, Spencer, too, traveled from Fort Worth to Paradise Valley in 1923 Season 2, arriving from international waters. Sheep Brennan's Sam Elliott wagon train starts their Oregon Trail journey in Fort Worth. From there, they cross the Brazos River in Texas and navigate the plains. After evading almost every obstacle the trail hurls at them, James' family heads for the mountains. The route is similar to the journey that Spencer makes in 1923 Season 2, albeit 40 years earlier. After Spencer arrives by Italian freighter at the port of Galveston in Texas, James' son plans to board a train in Fort Worth heading to the Rocky Mountains. Spencer gets sidetracked and targeted after unwittingly saving Luca, Andy Dispenza, a member of the Maceo family, who operates a branch of the Italian mafia in Galveston. After overcoming several obstacles that ultimately led to Spencer's phone call in 1923 Season 2, Episode 5, Jacob's Harrison Ford, nephew gets a free ride on a train heading to Montana, thanks to Marshall Mamie Fawcett, Jennifer Carpenter. While Spencer's journey resembles his family's in many ways, things are relatively smooth sailing once he boards the train. While it takes place 40 years later, Alex's journey looks closer to the reality of Spencer's family's trip. Paul Augustus Prue notes this at the beginning of their journey, saying they will travel like the pioneers. Spencer's family was one of the pioneer groups that Paul references, and his comparison isn't much of a stretch. While Alex, Paul, and Hillary, Janet Montgomery, make their journey by car, the trip through the mountains has the same perils. Therefore, though Alex's friends in 1923 traveled further north, from Chicago to Wyoming, their journey better replicates the Oregon Trail experience. The Oregon Trail was the ultimate road trip. While the journey begins as fun-natured in 1923 Season 2, Episode 6, technology has not evolved enough in the 40 years that separate 1883 and 1923 to guarantee that the crew will make a safe voyage, especially in the winter. The biggest threat to the pioneers along the Oregon Trail was ultimately winter, which would freeze the party in their tracks. This proves to be the case with Paul and Hillary, who can't heat themselves enough to survive, despite their fancy motor car, when it runs out of gas and leaves them stranded. With their plans falling apart and provisions running short, Paul and Hillary recreate a true Oregon Trail experience, just as the former predicted. The fate is similar to the one that James and his family avoided, with Elsa's death in 1883 potentially saving the rest of her family. As determined as James was to outrun winter in 1883, before Elsa's fate caused a detour, their journey could have ended like Paul and Hillary's at any time. From Tennessee, James' family didn't know much about the cold, and it could have closed in on them as winter approached, killing them indefinitely. Alex's trip from Chicago to Wyoming is a harsh reminder of Yellowstone's themes, further tying it to the prequel. A common thread in 1883, 1923, and Yellowstone is that people can't outsmart nature. Elsa Dutton calls the viewer's attention to the wild and untamed quality of the land throughout 1883. While Elsa initially romanticizes the journey, she has a series of sobering realizations as members of her wagon train succumb to the landscape, such as when they drown in the Brazos. While humans seem to have the upper hand by the 1920s, 1923 exists to disprove that. In 1923 Season 2's premiere, a mountain lion hunts the Dutton family from their porch. Similarly, a wolf bites Elizabeth Strafford, Michelle Randolph, in Episode 2, proving that Cara Dutton's Helen Mirren clan isn't safe despite 1923's modern conveniences. Ultimately, man's inability to conquer nature is a warning that the screenwriter writes into all of his stories, and Paul and Hillary's fate is an exclamation mark for Taylor Sheridan's message. After Alex's friends die, Elsa Dutton's narration in Episode 6's ending soliloquy makes a grave statement, warning of a sixth mass extinction. Elsa extends Sheridan's message to John Dutton's Kevin Costner series, with Elsa Dutton's Yellowstone narration capping the Season 5 final. At the end of Beth's, Kelly Riley, and Case's, Luke Grimes, story, Elsa Dutton warns that people cannot own wild land. Spencer's sister reckons that to truly own land, you develop it and stack it with houses so thick, people can smell each other's supper. Her 1923 message warns that life is a constant battle for survival, and Paul and Hillary's preventable fate is a testament to what can happen when people take civilization for granted, losing sight of that. Spencer's late older sister paints a grim reality in The Mountain Teeth of Monsters. It mirrors Alex's predicament at the end of 1923 Season 2, Episode 6, prompting the monologue. Still, Alex has proven she is valiant, ready to fight for her survival, which her deceased sister-in-law stresses the importance of. Alex can still make it to Montana, as long as someone eventually comes down the road she's stranded on. Spencer's wife just has to hold out and stay vigilant until then, finding some way to provide herself with food, shelter, and warmth in the meantime, although her options are admittedly bleak. Alex could add insulation, grimly reproposing her friend's thickest layers to stay warm. From there, I don't suppose Alex knows how to start a fire, but that's where I would start in her predicament. In 1923 Season 2, Episode 2, Jacob and Jack, Darren Mann, improvise a shelter when they are caught in a similar circumstance, tipping over their wagon and crowding underneath it for heat. Alex doesn't have the same upbringing as Spencer and his family, but we have witnessed her instinct to survive in 1923, and her brave actions thus far prove she still has a chance. In the vast and unforgiving landscape of the American frontier, legacy is not passed down in blood alone. It is carried in spirit, in fire, grit, and choice. While Spencer Dutton may wear the name, it is Alexandra Dutton, Alex, who truly channels the legacy of 1883. Not through lineage, but through boldness, love, and a yearning for freedom that echoes Elsa Dutton's own. To understand this, we must first remember 1883, the raw, emotional prequel to Yellowstone, a saga that painted the American West not as myth, but as marrow-deep suffering. 1883 was Elsa Dutton's story. She wasn't just James and Margaret's daughter, she was the compass of the journey, the bright flame of youth learning to survive the darkest storms. Elsa loved recklessly, fought fiercely, and died beautifully, her spirit buried in the soil that would become Yellowstone. 1923, decades later, promised us the continuation of that spirit. Naturally, all eyes turned to Spencer Dutton. The haunted World War, a veteran with rugged looks and a past he couldn't outrun, he seemed the rightful heir to Elsa's frontier legacy. But what became clear as 1923 unfolded was that Spencer wasn't building a legacy, he was running from it. Running from war, from pain, from responsibility. His story was one of healing and return, not creation. Enter Alexandra, a woman of English nobility who could have chosen comfort, privilege, and predictability, but instead chose the wild. Chose Spencer, chose the unknown. In doing so, she stepped into the same story Elsa once lived. A tale of leaving everything behind for the promise of something real, something true. But Alex doesn't just mirror Elsa, she builds upon her. Elsa rode across the plains in a covered wagon. Alex sailed across oceans, rode trains through Africa, and marched barefoot into war zones for love. Elsa fought disease, raids, and hunger. Alex fought lions, customs officials, and the cruel jaws of fate. Both women redefined courage in their own eras, but where Elsa's journey ended in tragic grace,